sweet friends, welcome back to Mary's Nest. Today I'm continuing with my Christmas cooking series and I'm making an easy stovetop creamy macaroni and cheese that's a perfect accompaniment to a Christmas ham. And what makes this recipe so easy is that everything goes into the pan in one fell swoop. You don't have to cook the butter and the flour first, and you're going to be amazed at how creamy it comes out. I just want to quickly go over the ingredients, and the first is the pasta, which we'll get ready to cook. I'm using a mini farfalle, a bow tie or a butterfly, you may know it as, and I just bought this at my local grocery store. But you can use any kind of small pasta that you find. You can use the shells or you can use the traditional elbows. Anything will work for this. I like to use these little unusual mini shapes because it makes it a little festive for Christmas time. So here I've just got a pound of the mini farfalle, and we'll get ready to cook those. And then you're going to need 2 cups of milk. You're going to need a half a stick of butter or 4 tablespoons of butter. And then you're going to need a 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. You're going to need a teaspoon of salt and a half a teaspoon of dry mustard. Now, if you don't have the half a teaspoon, if you don't have dry mustard, don't worry about it. Just use a teaspoon of a nice kind of little bit of a spicy mustard just to give it a little nice flavor, like a Dijon or something like that. And now let's talk about the star of the show, the cheese. What I've got here is a Colby Monterey Jack, it's cubed, and I've got a mild cheddar that's also cubed. If you're using grated cheese, you'd use a little less, probably about 2 cups. This is 4 cups of cubes. But it's what I had on hand, and it makes it very easy, especially since I don't feel like grating it all. But in any event, the Colby Monterey Jack is terrific for making macaroni and cheese on the stovetop to make it really creamy, because these cheeses melt beautifully. Now, when it comes to the cheddar, I always like to use a mild cheddar. A sharp cheddar tends to make the macaroni and cheese kind of grainy. It makes the cream grainy, not grady, grainy. Makes the cheese sauce grainy. And I don't like that. So I recommend that if you are doing cheddar, but the cheddar gives it a nice flavor, even the mild cheddar, but stick with the mild. It really makes a difference in the final product. Now I'm bringing my water up to a boil to cook the pasta, and the mini farfalle for al dente is 7 minutes. But what I like to do whenever I'm making any kind of pasta that I'm then going to put a sauce on and warm it or cook it a little bit more, I like to cook it a little less than al dente. So I'm going to cook this farfalle probably for about 5 minutes. And I've got a big stock pot here, which I've got water coming up to a boil. Once it comes up to a boil, I'm going to salt it. And I'm going to salt it well, at least a teaspoon of salt, and then I'll throw in the, let it come, sometimes when you put the salt in, it will calm the boiling down, so I'll wait for it to come back up to a boil, and then I'll go in and add the farfalle. Well, my farfalle's all done, and I'm keeping it warm in there, and now we're going to get ready to make the sauce. This is the simplest white sauce because all you do is throw it all in. It's one step. You throw it all into the pot, and then once it's cooked, we'll add the cheese, and that's it. And then we throw in the macaroni, and we're good to go. So in goes the cold butter, and then next we'll put in the cold milk, and I've got this on a medium heat. And then the next thing goes in our flour, our salt, and our mustard. And that's it. And now I'm just going to whisk this around and get it up to a boil. And we're going to boil it for 1 minute. And then we're going to remove it from the heat and add in our cheese. So I'll just get this started. Well, this is thickening beautifully, and I'm just going to cook it now for 1 minute. Well, my white sauce is all done, and now we get ready to add in the cheese. Look at that beautiful creaminess. Just glorious. So I'm just going to be adding in my cheese and stirring it until all the cheese is melted. Look at that cheese sauce. Now I just want to give one tip. I use the cheese cubes instead of the grated cheese. If you use grated cheese, you can take it off the heat, add the grated cheese, it'll melt very quickly, you won't have any problems. If you use the cubes like me, because I was a little lazy, I keep it on low heat, and then I add very low heat, and then I add in the cheese cubes, and it takes a little while for them to melt, so I just want to give you that tip. So I've just kept my pasta warm in here, and all I did after it was cooked was drain it, and I tossed it with a tiny bit of butter just so it wouldn't stick together. And now I'm going to add it into the cheese sauce. And now I'm going to add my pasta into this glorious sauce, and we'll stir everything together and give it a taste test. Well, I've got the pasta all mixed with the cheese, and one thing I always like to do is after I cook pasta and I get to go to drain it, I like to reserve about a cup of the pasta water so that whatever pasta dish I'm making, whether it's macaroni and cheese or something else, I like to have a little pasta water reserved just if I feel things need to be thinned out a little. I think this looks pretty good, and my husband, who is the macaroni and cheese expert taste tester, thinks it looks pretty good. So we'll give it a try, but if I felt it was too thick, I've got this pasta water just to thin things out a little. That's delicious. Now go click on this video to see a ham that's perfect to go with this macaroni and cheese. And subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to seeing you over there in my Texas Hill Country kitchen. Love and God bless.